Jan Edwards is the CEO of Paving the Way. She's the organization committed to facing fierce disruption of the cycle of childhood trafficking throughout the globe. This is accomplished through educational and training programs that really empower communities to break the cycle. Jan has spent over 25 years as an executive in sales and marketing, working with organizations like Time Warner, Bright House, United Nations, and other international groups before taking on the worldwide initiative of preventing children from becoming victims of this silent crime. To date, they've educated over 10,000 children and adults on this topic. Jan has been featured on the Huffington Post, NBC, iHeartRadio for her work on this prevention of this topic. Jan was also awarded the Humanitarian Award in 2018. Congrats to that. That's awesome. And most recently was named Orlando Magazine's Woman of the Year in 2018. Second, congrats to that. So
2019.
2019. Oh, nice. So she's also the director and producer of the award-winning film Trapped in the Trade, which was featured on CNN. So welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you on this topic.
Absolutely.
We have a mutual friend, Corey Stevenson, that was talking to me about this, and I was blown away by this topic because I didn't know how in-depth it was. I didn't know the severity of it. And we had a conversation, and Corey was telling me, she's like, listen, you just need to talk to Jan. So I was like, perfect, let's make this happen. So to do an interview to kind of educate the public about this topic, because I was blown away. I honestly just thought it was like the movie Taken, and that was it, but I had no clue. I had no clue how severe it was, or how prevalent it was in Florida too, and pretty much worldwide. So, yeah, if you could, can you first start out as what really is human trafficking and what does it really entail? Because most of the public probably just thinks it's the movie Taken and that's it. But what is it, and what are some different variations of it?
So human trafficking, I was just at a luncheon today at Orlando Health, and the director from the Howard Phillips Child Advocacy Center spoke. And, people have this perception that it's either kidnapping or people coming from over there to here, and that's not the truth. And trafficking takes many different forms. There's domestic servitude, right, where people are house cleaners or maintenance workers or gardeners. There's, in construction, so there's labor trafficking, domestic servitude, and then sex trafficking. That's mostly what people talk about and what they think about. And it's the use of force, fraud, or coercion to have people do something they wouldn't normally choose to do, okay? Yeah. And with children, none of that's necessary, because we're clear a child would not choose to perform sex acts on an adult. It's not a choice. Their prefrontal cortex is not completely developed yet, and they're manipulated into thinking that's what you should do. And so that's what they do. And sometimes they do it, it's called survival sex. And sometimes they do it for food, for transportation, for housing. And other times they're lured in by actually other teenagers, and they're groomed and recruited over time such that they actually start to get the experience of that it's their fault. And so the perpetrators use the guilt and manipulation and, did you think that cell phone was going to be free? Or, did you really think me taking you to all those parties wasn't going to cost you something at some point in time? So it has the child really confused about, well, did I ask for this? And did I agree? Like, it really has their brain befuddled. And remember, this isn't fully developed yet. So they're very vulnerable to believe what's being told to them from someone who's built trust over time.
What is the age range of you see this happen to in kids? Yeah,
the average age of children being lured into the life, according to Florida Department of Children and Family Services, is 12 to 14. It's very young.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is obviously a worldwide problem. But,
yes, it is.
Us being Florida residents, why is it so bad in Florida? Why is the I-4 corridor so bad? Like, why is it so prevalent here? Or is it really just a big problem everywhere? It's just, we're just calling it a big problem here that really no one knows about.
Right. So I'm going to ask you the question back, because I'm a big fan, and people that know me know this. Yeah. I like to have people do the thinking. you know? So I just want you to take a look. Why do you think Florida is so high?
I would say because of the tourism, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Good.
for
What
me,
else?
I was thinking of all the traffic on I-4. It's an easy place, but again, I always thought
Mm-hmm.
human trafficking was they're just
Right.
following someone, they go to a
Well,
rest stop, and then bam, they're
yep.
gone. But
Yeah. You look, it's a transient state. I think the longest anyone generally lives in this state is about 2 years. So we're a highly
yeah,
transient state. We have more than 75 million tourists come here every year. And then we have all our big sporting events. And we have ports. You have the port of Tampa, you have the port of
okay.
Miami, you have Cape Canaveral and Jacksonville.
Easy
So we have
access to
ports.
get out.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a drive for demand. You know, if there wasn't a demand for this, there wouldn't be a need for luring children in. This is huge
Yeah.
business. There was an article, Fox News just did a piece a couple of days ago, and I can never, it's USHIAD, United States Human Institute Against Trafficking, I think is what it's called. And they did, hey, Savannah, and he just did a huge article about, you know, the United States is the #1 consumer of online and in-person sex. So it's like this hidden crime that nobody wants to talk about because it actually has to do with sex.
Yeah, it's so
And
weird.
yeah, and it's big business. You know, it's $150 billion globally. There's 47 million people enslaved. And and a lot of it is women and children being used for sex, but there's people
Hmm.
over in other countries making bricks. There's people in other countries, you know, digging for gold. There's people in other countries, you know,
Yeah.
digging for minerals underneath, you know, the rainforest. There's a really great book by Dr. Kevin Bales. It's called Blood and Earth, the ecocide of our Earth and the link to human trafficking.
Yeah.
And so it's very insightful. Hey, Corey, we're doing it. We're finally on the air.
We're finally on.
We're finally on.
Yeah.
And that's the, you know, and that's the conundrum. And 60% of trafficking actual happens from family members. You know, parents will traffic their children.
No way.
Yeah, 60% of trafficking is actually done by a parent, and it's actually a lot of moms that are trafficking their children to support a drug habit.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Yeah,
I did not even know that. That is amazing.
most people don't, Ron.
So this is probably a complex question, but what's the solution? Is it education? Is it the police? Is it investigations that we have to stop this before it happens, or do we have to
Yeah,
take
we're
out the guys at the top somehow, or is it really education of the public as for parents to be aware of this? Like, what's the solution to this?
well, I think you've got threefold, right? So there's a root cause of a lot of this. And if you look where a lot of trafficking happens, it's in underserved areas. So there's that piece of it. You've got the trafficker, you've got the buyer, and then you've got the victim.
Okay.
Right? We're not going to arrest our way out of this, and we're not going to educate our way out of this. And if we don't start reducing the demand, nothing else will alter. So we've really got to start to look at the root problem as to why is someone purchasing sex? Well, you know, let's ask that question. What are their adverse childhood experience scores, and what has them be so vulnerable such that, you know, what's happening at home that they're not being taken care of, that they are, you know, very easily lured into this life by someone who's promising them the world and
Mhm.
delivers them to hell, quite frankly. There's a quote from a pimp that said, he goes, "I'll promise them heaven and they'll follow me all the way to hell."
Oh,
So, you
that's
know, I think
strong.
education, yeah. So education's a huge part of it. Hey, Rick, education's a huge part of it, of both children and parents and those that surround children, because there's, you know, a lot of recruitment out of our foster care system. So if we, you know, even if they're not living at home with their parent, to have the child be empowered to know what human trafficking is, what it looks like, and if someone is promising you the world, you got to take a second look. You really got to look, you know, at what's being promised, and to give kids the safety, the space to share what's happening to them, you know, and the teachers have to be aware, and the admin have to be aware. Because if a child's coming to school and asking, I'm going to share this little piece of a friend of mine. This person asked to stay after school almost every single day.
Yeah.
That's odd. That's odd. Because that's, most kids like want to rush home to something. Well, that particular person didn't want to go home. And you have to start asking why. Why does that child not want to go home? Or if they come to school, without shoes, or they only have the same pair of shoes once, or dirty clothes, the same clothes every single day, or they look tired, or they're falling asleep at desk, or they might be acting out. A lot of children act out because of the experiences they're having, and we think it's a behavioral problem, when in reality it's an abuse problem, and they don't have any way else to let us know what's happening. So educating children, educating the parents and the teachers, the administrators, and really holding people that are inside the child welfare side of the environment. We got to hold them to account. They because pimps will actually put kids into foster care to recruit other kids.
Wow, that goes so multi-level, so deep that we don't even think about. Wow, no way. They'll put them into foster care just to recruit. That's amazing. So I love how you said we have to get to the root cause of this. There's nothing that we can do to the buyer and to the trafficker, is there?
The trafficker, more and more states are starting to implement laws, and the challenge with actually having a trafficker end up in jail is the people that he traffics, they have to testify against them. And that's challenging because you're actually re-victimizing that person to share their story over and over and over again. And so they're actually starting to alter how that's done, so that you tell your story once on video or once on paper. You're not having to re-say it over and over and over again to be re-traumatized, right? Such that you're clear about what this person did. And the laws in Florida, if you are successfully prosecuted for trafficking a child, you can go from 25 years to life. Now, the challenge on the buyer side is right now it's a slap on the wrist, maybe a $500 fine or a night in jail. And to me, I think that's really where there's an opportunity, is to really start, cracking down on the people that are buying this.
That is crazy. I didn't even think about it that way. I mean, wow. Yeah, there definitely has to be some more stricter laws on the buyer. I mean,
absolutely.
Both the trafficker and the buyer. So let's focus. It sounds like the primary goal to educate and to stop this is with the child and the parents and the teachers and the people who are around the child, right? So
absolutely.
As parents,
you're welcome, Steve.
As parents, what are the main signs and symptoms or what can we look for teachers out there or for parents in ways to prevent this from happening? What are some signs and symptoms that are most common?
Well, the loss of interest of something that a child loves. If you've got a child that's been playing piano since they were, 5, and then around 12 or 13, it's not like all of a sudden just tapering off. It's a nope, I'm done. Right? It's the alteration of behavior, and it's separate and distinct from regular teenage behavior.
Yeah.
It's being secretive. It's an alteration of clothing. It's an alteration of friends. It's an alteration of interest. And this is really key for parents, is that you've got to know your kids. You've got to know when they are being teenagers and when they're not okay, and be willing to have the difficult conversations. I used to have, when my daughter was underneath my roof, she's now off and married, right? But I would always say to her, be careful driving. And she'd roll her eyes and go, oh, Mom, I'm always careful. And I'm like, sweetheart, it's not you I'm worried about.
Yeah.
It's the other 3 drivers that are at that stop sign that might be on their phone or might be reaching down and taking a drink that aren't paying attention. I said, you've got to be a set of eyes for all of those other drivers around you, because they're not as aware as you are. It's the same thing with parents. We have to create a safe space for our children to be able to come tell us anything. And when I, work with the kids, I share with them, I said, look, if you're sexting. If you're taking inappropriate pictures and sending them to people, first of all, you got to really look, is there anyone that's going to have your best interest in mind when you do that? You know, and all the girls will look at me and go, no. So that's the first thing. I said, the second thing, you can't ever get that picture back.
Yeah.
I said, so, you know, you're going to want to have some conversations with your parents. I said, now then, I said, your parents might be a little upset. I go, you got to they're not going to be upset at you. I said, you're going to experience it as they're upset at you, and they're not. They're upset at themselves, because the first place parents go is, it's our fault. We did something wrong. We missed something. We forgot something. Something was off and we didn't see it. I said, so generally parents are upset at themselves, and the kids take it that they're upset at them and they've done something wrong. I said, so you got to give your parents some space to be human, because they're human. They have human feelings. They have human emotions. They have human experiences. And the fact that someone's taking advantage of their child is heartbreaking. I said, so you've got to give your parents some space to have the emotions of being upset because someone's taken advantage of you and their heart's crushed.
Yeah.
You know, and you can watch the kids kind of, it washes over their face going, oh, like they didn't map that together. You know, and same thing with the parents. I said, look, I said, you're going to have a physical reaction to this. If they come up and say, Mom, I've been, you know, sending inappropriate pictures to somebody, I go, you're going to have a reaction to it. You're going to have to take a deep breath and go, hang on a second. Mommy's really upset, but mommy's not upset at you.
Yeah.
Right? Mommy's just upset because someone's taken advantage of something that I hold near and precious to my heart.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have other parents, and this is why it's imperative that we have, you know, teachers and coaches and really anyone that's in and around children that's really for children, is that they're aware, because sometimes it's the parent that's doing the perpetrating, you know,
That blows my mind.
They don't have a safe place to go at home. And so we always, you know, coach the kids to have a safe adult. You know, if there's someone at school that you really trust and you feel safe with, have a safe adult that you can actually have this conversation with. And you know, more and more schools have got social workers in there, and they're trained. They know what human trafficking is. They know what it looks like, and they know what there is to do.
Well, that is amazing. Is there anything or signs and symptoms of when the trafficker is actually intervening that we can recognize? Like, is it something that we have to tap into the child's cell phone?
Absolutely.
Like, what are some things that we can identify with that?
A lot of this is done online, and what I share with parents is you have to be aware of every single app that's on your kid's phone, and you can't just go, I'm going to take your phone away, or I'm going to put something on your phone or your computer and not tell you. It's really an opportunity for the parents to have a powerful conversation with their children and go, look, I'm committed to you and your safety, you know, and that's why we're having this conversation. And again, it's kind of like likening the conversation back to my daughter and driving. It's not you I don't trust. There are people out there that are going to try and take advantage of you, and it's my job to keep you safe. It's my job as your parent to keep you safe. The only way I can do that is if I know who you're talking to and what's occurring in your world. And that's the thing for kids, is that, you know, teenage years are very interesting, and it's the perfect time for someone to be recruited, because there's this push me, pull you of, I've got it, I'm independent, I don't need you. And then when I need you now. You know, so they're starting to get their independence. And whereas parents, you know, we can't hover like we used to when they were teeny tiny. And, you know, and we still have to be like right next to them, shoulder to shoulder, letting them know we're here, we're their safety net, we're not going to let anything happen to you. And we have to stay in communication about what you're dealing with and what you're experiencing. There was I went and trained about 350 kids at Rock Lake Middle School, and literally a week after our second day of training, over the weekend, a little 12-year-old girl was asked for an inappropriate picture. And because of our training, she knew exactly what to do. She knew exactly what actions to take. She went and told her parents. They called law enforcement. They called administration. And, you know, we just saved the life of a little girl who could have sent an inappropriate picture to somebody that wasn't going to have her best interest in mind. That's why it's called sex. That's why it's called sextortion. Is they ask you for a, you know, just a picture with your bra, or just a picture in your bra and panties, and then they'll ask for more, and then they'll ask for more, and then they'll start to get uncomfortable for the girl or the boy, and they're like, well, if you don't, I'm going to post all these pictures you sent me. And now it becomes extortion.
Yeah, it's crazy because they have access to the
Hmm.
world in the palm of their hand. Like back in
They
our
do.
day, we didn't have
Hmm.
anything like
Mm-mm.
that. And now they have instant access to email, everything. So it's like opening the floodgates with a cell phone, having internet access now. I could see where
Exactly.
that it makes it so
Yeah.
easy now.
Yeah. And there's apps that hide apps. So even if a parent looks at the phone and looks for Snapchat or TikTok or,
Yeah,
any of these other apps, um, they're not going to see them because they're hidden underneath another app. It's called Calculator Plus.
yeah.
And I actually just posted recently a whole list of apps that parents need to watch out for. There was
Hmm.
an app in the UK where it asked for pictures of a little girl from the top up, and they were specifically looking for prepubescent girls, and it was like a club. So you took a picture of yourself, in a t-shirt or whatever to prove that you hadn't developed yet, and then you could join the club. So right there, whoever started this app has got pictures of thousands of little girls that haven't started developing yet, and they have
Yeah.
no idea that they're going to be exploited.
That's crazy. But I mean, that's a perfect example right there of how you saved
Hmm.
that young girl from it even starting, just from educating her and teaching her
Yep.
what to do, and then she was able to tell the admin and tell her parents.
And the
Um,
police. And the interesting thing about middle schoolers, I have a deep affinity for middle schoolers, mainly because they're coachable. They're open and they're willing to learn, and they actually take the action. And that was the really cool thing, as we went back 5 months later and asked them, because we're committed, our education actually interrupts an action
mhm.
or actually has them do a positive action. And they stopped accepting friend requests online from people they didn't know. They stopped bullying people online.
Yeah,
They went and shared with their friends or family what they learned. 60% of these kids actually went and had a conversation about what they learned. That, for a middle schooler, that's a miracle.
yeah, I'm
Because they don't
sure.
talk to
Yeah.
anybody. And then the thing that probably warms my heart the most, because we coach them, we actually share with them what to do. And I said, look, y'all know the kids that eat lunch by themselves, and they all
Hmm.
kind of nod their head. And I said, look, just go sit next to them. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
I said, I said, just go, I'm going to sit here. We don't have to talk. I just want you to know I'm here. And I said, what's that going to do for that little girl or that little boy? And someone always says it's always someone in the back, and they go, they're no longer alone. Someone's noticed them.
Yeah.
And so we have no idea the lives that will be saved just by one young person going to
Hmm.
sit next to another young person for lunch. Simple
Wow.
act. It's
Yeah.
so simple, but it's the connection that's missing for our kids, and the
Hmm.
fact that a lot of the youth shared what they saw. I said, look, you can know, I said, we are our brother's keepers. I said, I'm like, you no longer can be a bystander,
Yeah.
right? If you see something, you actually have to say something. And they did. And the fact that they're saying something tells me their eyes are up and out, and they're paying attention to their surroundings.
Hmm.
That they now are aware of what to look for, and more importantly, the impact that this has on someone's life. You're talking long-term trauma.
Yeah.
This is you don't get over being sex trafficked. There's
Yeah.
no over. It's, the neuronal patterns are affected, your biology is affected, your memories are affected, all of that
Totally
is
agree.
affected.
Yeah.
And so if we can prevent it on the front end, we're saving lives and millions and millions of dollars of long-term in healthcare.
Yeah. Is the state of Florida doing anything about this?
The Department of Education just passed a rule, not to be confused with a law, a
Okay.
rule for all Florida schools by December 1st to have a plan in place as to how they're going to educate K through 12 about this topic. And I and several other organizations across the state are working with Representative Williams and Senator Thurston on having a law passed, because,
Hmm.
as we know, rules can be changed.
Yeah.
Rules can be removed. Laws, it's a little more difficult. So we're actually committed that this become a law in the state of Florida.
Is there any kind of lobbying going on or
There
educating
is.
of our
Absolutely.
legislators about this? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a group called Free Network. They're very involved. There's United Abolitionists. They're very involved. Selah Freedom's very involved. There's an organization down south that's very involved. And, we're all in this together to keep, make sure our kids stay safe. And it's HB 105, so House Bill 105. Rep. Williams is the sponsor of that. And then Senate Bill 154, and Senator Thurston's the sponsor of that. And so you can always pick up the phone, email, call. Twitter is a very effective tool to lobby in, and let them know you support these bills and you want them to vote yes on that, because it's really, we're talking about our children's futures here.
Yeah. So what are some, well, I guess the one thing is if someone's watching this and they want to bring you either to their school to lecture to the middle schoolers, or whether it's a family group or anything, how do people get in touch with you or find out some information of how to get in touch with you or to hire you to come out to talk to another middle school? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can go to our website. It's pavingthewayfoundation.org, and I'll type it in my little thing down here. And they can reach out to us there. They can reach out to us over Facebook. And then we have another website called Stop Trafficking Today. And there's all kinds of things you can download from there. There's a signs one sheet that people can download. So I'll put both my websites in here. And,
once I upload it to YouTube, I'll put the links below here also.
Okay, great.
For you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we've got mission ambassadors. And also, too, there's some people that really, they're like, oh, my gosh, this is just really touching my heart. I want to do something about that. We have a program that's called the Mission Ambassador Program, and where we train people to go out and talk to kids. And we're to the point where we need a lot of you.
Yeah.
We're going to be out at Seminole High School next week training 1,000 kids. And we've got more schools asking for us to come in and participate with them as they're having to develop programs, and so we've got more and more requests. And, right now it's all during the day. So we're really looking for retired teachers, stay-at-home moms that have middle school age kids, so they can, go out and do this during the day when their kids are at school.
Yeah.
And even, businesses, because there's a lot of businesses like Gap and Old Navy, you can go out, you can take a quote day out to volunteer, and, you still get your salary, and then they match those hours as, community service hours. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved with us. And pavingthewayfoundation.org, we have our volunteer page, we have our, mission ambassador page, because we do a lot of events too. And we actually have a we have a fundraiser coming up on the 5th. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Up at the Mercedes-Benz North Orlando up in Sanford. It's on Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. We've got some cool auction items, and it's free food, free drinks, for live music. And it's just we're actually really celebrating our accomplishments over the past 6 years. We've been at this fighting tooth and nail to have our kids educated. And we're celebrating the Day of the Child, which is towards the end of November, but we're celebrating early. So we invite everyone to come out with us and celebrate with us.
Well, very nice. I will share that also. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but even though I just met you, thank you for all the work you're doing and the changes that you are making, not only in Florida, but throughout the world. Kudos to you. That's awesome. Congrats on all the success, and keep on doing it, because it's awesome. And I think that the more we educate people about this, the more that we share this with other people will be more known about it and be able to recognize the signs and symptoms. And as you said earlier, it sounds like prevention is the key with this.
It's one of them.
And really
it's one of them.
Solving the root cause of why this is happening. So thank you very much for your time. I'm not going to let you off super quick yet. Everyone has to answer the Fab 5 questions really quick.
What's the Fab 5 questions?
That's 8 questions. Okay, so the first one is, what book are you reading right now?
Actually, I have a couple of them. One is called The Deepest Well, and it's by Dr. Harris. She talks about adverse childhood experiences. There's a really great documentary about the work they're doing about that called Resiliency. It's a phenomenal book. So The Deepest Well is what I'm reading now, along with I'm finishing up Blood and Earth and The God Ask. I always have multiple books going at the same
that's good.
time.
That's good. Good. Yeah. Number 2 is, what is your favorite restaurant in Orlando?
Oh my God. My favorite restaurant in Orlando. Korea House because my daughter and her husband are getting ready to move to South Korea, so we go there a lot.
Oh,
The food's
nice.
delicious. Yeah, I'm gluten-free, so I can eat their food. It's a beautiful
Very
thing.
nice. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Next question is, who is a under the radar small business owner or CEO in Florida or in Orlando that that you love what they're doing as an up and coming business?
Well, they're not necessarily an up and coming business, but the office that I'm in, I'll give you a little look, the conference room that I'm
Mm-hmm.
in. This is courtesy of the Orlando Law Group. Jennifer
Oh,
is
okay.
the principal owner. She's the largest female-owned law group in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and she has graciously donated office space to us to use every week. And that allows us to have interns from UCF,
Oh, very
which
nice.
makes a
Yeah.
huge difference for me.
That
Yes.
would be, yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
very nice, very nice.
Yeah, no, we
Next,
love Jennifer.
very cool. Next one is, what is one problem in healthcare that you want to see solved?
Problem in healthcare. So I was my mom's caregiver as she was aging. I was her caregiver the last 9 years. And the thing that I noticed is the disconnection between the healthcare worker and the patient when they're that age, because they can't hear really well,
Yep.
they can't see really well. And if you don't have an advocate in the room with them, it's very hard for them to get their needs and wants met.
Yeah.
So to be able to really have our nursing staff and our CNA staff have just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more compassion and patience with our elderly patients would really make a difference for them.
Yeah, it definitely does. Last question is, if
Yeah.
someone wanted to watch your documentary, Trapped in the Trade, where can they find that?
Well, they can't find it online. They won't find it online because it leaves people in a particular place. So they want to find us on pavingthewayfoundation.org and the
Mm-hmm.
contact and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm with XYZ PTA or school. I'd love for you to come out and Rotary. I'd
Okay.
love for you to come out and show the film to our group.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you very much. Thank you a
Thank
lot
you, Ron. Yeah.
for coming on board. And I'm sorry about the technical difficulties at first, but
It's okay.
we
We
will
figured it
definitely,
out.
yeah, we figured it out. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure
My
meeting you,
pleasure.
and keep up the
Yeah.
awesome work.
Thanks, Ron. Okay. Bye,
Perfect.
y'all. Thanks for watching.